They called it protecting the family legacy, but only my name was on the documents. I wasn't a partner, I was a human shield. The notice came in a bright red envelope. I found it under the door of my rental apartment on a Tuesday. Inside was a lawsuit. Defendant, Damon Cross. Suit amount, $450,000. I read it 3 times. I work as a graphic designer. I make $60,000 a year. I have no debt other than rent. But the lawsuit stated I was the CEO of a construction holding, the very one my father owned. I felt bile rise in my throat. At the bottom of the page was the date of my appointment, 3 days ago. I never consented to this. I grabbed my phone and called Dad. Subscriber unavailable. I called Mom. She picked up, music playing in the background. Hi Damon. We're just picking out curtains for the new house. Her voice was too cheerful. Mom, why am I being sued for $500,000? The background music stopped abruptly. Oh, you got the papers? Don't be dramatic. Don't be dramatic. I'm being sued. It's just a legal maneuver, honey. Dad will explain everything tonight. I didn't wait for evening. I drove to their country house. The gates were open. A new sports convertible sat in the driveway. My older brother Trent was behind the wheel. He was revving the engine, listening to the roar. Where did this come from? I asked, pointing at the car. Trent took off his sunglasses. Quarterly bonus. Like it? I pulled the lawsuit from my pocket and slammed it against the windshield. Is this your bonus too? Trent didn't even blink. It's a necessity. The market dipped. I walked into the house. Dad was in his study, packing documents into boxes. You made me director without my knowledge, I said. Dad didn't stop working. You have a general power of attorney, Damon. You signed it before you left. 5 years ago. That was so you could sell my old car. It was general, Dad corrected calmly. We used it to transfer the firm to you. The firm? You transferred debts to me. We transferred the legal entity. Debts are part of the package. It was gaslighting at the highest level. They spoke about it like I should say thank you. Void it, I demanded. Dad closed the box and sealed it with tape. The sound was sharp. Can't. Bankruptcy proceedings have already started. In your name. I felt the floor drop out from under me. Bankruptcy will ruin my life. I won't be able to get a mortgage, rent a place. Mom walked in with fabric samples. Damon, we're doing this for the family. For the family? Trent bought a convertible while you drowned me? Trent is the face of our new brand, Mom said. He needs to look successful. And me? And you? You've always been tough, she smiled. You have no family, no kids. It's easier for you to weather bankruptcy. They cast the roles. Trent is the golden child. I am the trash can for their problems. I'm going to the DA, I said quietly. Dad froze. He slowly turned to me. Boredom vanished from his eyes. Coldness appeared. You won't do that. I will. I'll report fraud. I turned to the exit. Damon, Dad yelled. I didn't stop. I got in my old car and drove away. I drove to my lawyer, an old friend from high school, Ben. Ben looked at the docs and whistled. This isn't just bankruptcy, Damon. This is criminal. What do you mean? The lawsuit mentions embezzlement of investor funds. $500,000 vanished from accounts a week before your appointment. He spread out bank statements. Money went to offshore accounts. If you're the CEO, you're liable for the missing funds. But I became CEO after the withdrawal. Not according to the papers. They backdated your appointment. My family wasn't just saving their money. They were pinning a prison sentence on me. Ben looked at me seriously. You need proof you didn't run the company. Emails, recordings, witnesses. I had nothing. I lived in another city. I didn't talk business with them. My phone vibrated. It was a text from Trent. A photo. It was my dog Buster. He was at their house, in a crate. I left him with my parents for the weekend while looking for a new apartment. Text under the photo. Come over. We need to sign a few more papers. Buster misses you. It wasn't a request. It was a threat. I returned to my parents' house an hour later. I turned on the voice recorder on the phone in my pocket. But when I entered, Trent met me with a metal detector. Like bouncers use in clubs. Hands up, little brother. He smirked. Are you serious? Dad said no recordings. He found the phone and took it. Took my car keys. He even checked my shoes. I walked into the living room. Buster was barking in the basement. I heard his muffled bark. "Let the dog go," I said. "As soon as you sign the confession," Dad said. A new document lay on the table. Statement of personal liability for embezzlement. In exchange, they promised to pay for a lawyer and put money on my commissary. "You want me to voluntarily go to jail?" "We want to preserve assets," Mom said. "If Dad goes in, we lose everything. If you go in, we support you." The logic was flawless and inhumane. I glanced at the watch on my wrist. Simple digital watch, cheap. Trent didn't bother taking it. It looked like a toy. But it was a watch with an emergency call function. I sat at the table. "How much?" I asked. "How much what?" Trent didn't understand. "How much did you steal, exactly?" 600,000, Trent answered proudly. "We put it in crypto through Island Fund." "And all docs are in my name?" Dad nodded. "All trails lead to you. We are clean." "And if I refuse?" Dad leaned in. "Then we tell the police you stole the money and ran. And we let Buster out. On the street, near the highway." It was a low blow. They knew the dog was the only living thing I loved. "Give me the pen," I said. Trent handed me an expensive fountain pen. "Don't shake when you sign." I took the pen. My fingers went white. I knew if I signed, there was no way back. They would destroy me right now. I needed to stall. "I need water," I asked. "Get him some," Dad nodded to Trent. While Trent walked to the kitchen, I pressed and held the side button on my watch. 3 short vibrations. SOS signal sent to Ben. Ben knew. If the signal comes, I'm being held against my will. Trent came back with water. I drank slowly. "Sign it, Damon," Mom urged. At that moment, the situation shifted. Dad placed another folder on the table. "Before you sign, look at this." I opened the folder. Photos. Me handing envelopes of cash to men in suits. My signature on contracts with shell companies. They were forgeries. Photo manipulation. "What is this?" "Insurance," Dad said harshly. The tone changed. "No more, we are family. If you try to back out in court, these photos go to the police. You'll accuse me of bribery?" "We'll accuse you of bribing officials. That's a federal crime," Trent said. It was a qualitative shift. They just wanted to shift debt. Now they fabricated evidence that I was a corrupt criminal. They weren't just looking for a scapegoat. They were building their safety on my destruction. "You are monsters," I said. "We are survivors," Mom replied. "You have 2 minutes." I closed the folder. Fear vanished. Only cold rage remained. "I'll sign," I said. They relaxed. Trent smiled. "But I want to see Buster. Here, now." "Signature first," Dad said. "No, dog first, or I rip this document, and you explain your forgeries to experts." Dad nodded to Trent. Trent left and returned a minute later with Buster. The dog rushed to me, whining. I hugged his neck, felt the warmth. "Now sign," Trent said. I took the pen, brought it to the paper, and stabbed the nib hard into the table. Ink splattered on the white tablecloth. "I'm not signing this." Dad jumped up, face purple. "You're dead meat, Damon. Do you realize that?" "Maybe," I said. "But you're coming with me." "You have no proof," Trent yelled. "I have a watch." I raised my hand. "It's been recording audio for the last 15 minutes, and it already sent a copy." It was a bluff about the copy. But they didn't know for sure. Mom's face turned white as chalk. "Smash that watch," Mom shrieked. Trent lunged at me across the table. I jumped up, knocking over the chair. Buster growled. Trent stopped, looking at the dog's bared teeth. "The recording is already with my lawyer," I lied, raising the stakes. "If I don't walk out in 5 minutes, he sends the file to the DA." The silence in the room was ringing. "We can make a deal," Dad's voice trembled. "No," I cut him off. "Terms have changed. You transfer the house to me. For emotional damages." "Are you crazy? The house is worth $2 million. And freedom is priceless," I replied. At that moment, the doorbell rang. Loudly, insistently. Trent darted to the window. "It's the police," he whispered. Ben didn't just get the SOS. He called the cops, reporting a kidnapping. I smiled. "Looks like negotiation time is over." "Don't open it," Dad hissed. They'll break it down, I said calmly. I walked to the door. Trent grabbed my sleeve. Damon, please, we'll fix it, we'll pay the debt. There was animal fear in his eyes. I shook off his hand. Too late. I opened the door. 2 officers and Ben stood on the porch. Are you all right, Mr. Cross? No, I said loud enough for parents to hear. I was held here by force. They took my phone and keys. It's a family dispute, Dad yelled from the living room. Officer. I pointed to the table. There are documents with forged signatures and racketeering admission. The police entered. Dad tried to hide the folder with the photos. That was a mistake. The officer saw the movement and took it as a threat. Hands on the table. Now. The next hour was chaos. Police seized the documents. They found my phone in Trent's pocket. That confirmed theft of personal property. Ben showed officers the lawsuit and explained the scheme. When they opened the folder with fake photos, the lieutenant's face went hard. This is fabrication of evidence and extortion, Mr. Cross Sr. Dad tried to make excuses. It's a joke, just a collage. But no one was laughing. Trent was walked out first. He was crying. The golden boy broke at the first pressure. He immediately started snitching on Dad. It was his idea. I just transferred the crypto. Dad looked at him with disdain. Mom sat on the sofa, motionless. When the officer approached her, she looked at me. You destroyed the family, Damon. I cleaned it of parasites, I replied. The investigation took 6 months. The watch actually recorded part of the conversation. But the main evidence was Dad's laptop. They found everything. Money laundering schemes, forgery history, crypto wallet access. The $450,000 debt was ruled fraudulent. The court voided my liability. The company was declared bankrupt. All assets, including the house and Trent's convertible, were auctioned off. I didn't get the house like I threatened. But I got freedom. Dad got 8 years. Trent got 3. Mom got probation for complicity, but was left destitute. She called me last week. Asked for rent money for a room. I listened to her voice. The same voice that told me don't be dramatic. I have no money, Mom. I said, you work, Damon, help your mother. I am helping, I replied. I'm helping you learn to live within your means, like you always taught me. I hung up and blocked the number. Buster slept at my feet. We moved to another state. I changed jobs. Now I work in cybersecurity. Irony of fate. My experience with family taught me to see threats where others see trust. Ben told me recently. You know what's the scariest part? They still think they're right. I know, I replied. That's exactly why I'll never forgive them. Sometimes I see red envelopes in the mail. My heart still skips a beat. PTSD, my therapist says. But then I open them, it's just pizza ads. I'm no longer a holding CEO. I'm not a scapegoat. I'm just Damon. And I have a dog no one can take away. Yesterday I checked my credit score. It's green again. It's just numbers. But to me those numbers mean I won. I didn't let them rewrite my history. I wrote my own ending. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to the channel, like it, and click on the bell so you don't miss any more stories. See you soon.